Hey again everyone and welcome to another episode of Beards and Board Games with me, Georgie. Today it's another Kickstarter preview and it's Ember, the 2 to 5 player magical conjuring game where you're literally calling upon mythical beasts and crazy creatures to fight upon your side. Now this is either to help you or hinder your opponent. Let's go and take a look at Ember. Okay guys, so in the game there's 4 different elements. Now there's fire, water, air and earth. Now all these cards range from 1 to 13. And all of them have a different picture of a wizard on it. Now, that's very important to remember. Each number has a different picture of a wizard on it. Also, there's an Archmage card. Now, this counts as a wild or a joker. Now, this can count either for the type of element, or the type of wizard, or the number in play. So, let's go and take a look at the other cards. Okay, so this is one of the beasts or monsters that you can conjure. As you'll see, each of them has a number up here. Now this, at the end, is the total number of victory points that you have. This technically means nothing. Now there'll be 3 of each number of different monsters. Now the one thing I would say is number 1 is always the same, and it always is the same for the spell, apart from the number 12s. But the spell is usually always the same. So for instance, every number 6 is 4 cards of the same element. Hence why I was pointing out earlier the elements, the different wizards, and the numbers. Now, every monster or beast does have a special power. In this instance, it's Flip, Sharp Sight. So take the top 5 cards of the draw deck, take one, and then return the rest to the top of the draw deck in any order that you like. Now, that could be quite a powerful card, or quite a stressful card, depending on what cards come out. Also, I just thought I'd quickly show you another one of the monsters. This is one of my favourites. This is the Fire Demon. Now, to get hold of him, you need the low 5 consecutive cards of the same element. So that'd be 1 through 5 of water, fire, air. Now, as I said, each of the 12s will have a different power, but most of them, so the 1s through 10s, will all have it'll be exactly the same conjuring power. In this instance, it's going to be all different for the 12s. But this power, possession, whenever you conjure any creature, flip one other player's lesser creature. So essentially, when you flip a card, that's going to be when it's used, but I'll show you that in 1 second. I just wanted to quickly go through the fact that there is a pool of cards that's going to be sitting down in front of you, which you will see in a second, and all of them have a different victory point count, and the victory points go from 1 through 12, missing the number 11. All of them are different creatures and all of them have different artwork, so it is very, very interesting to have a look at. But I just thought I would show you one of my favourites as well. Now let's go and take a look at how the game actually plays. Also, Unicorn. Okay, so one setup, the pool would look something like this. Apologies about this glare, it's just because the cards must be sleeves because they're prototypes. Okay, at the start each player is dealt 5 cards at random from the draw deck. Now, the draw deck would be sat here, upside down. Now there's a draw deck, there's a discard pile, but there's also an out of play pile. So anytime that you play cards to conjure one of these beasts, they go out of play and will not be used again. But once the draw deck is depleted, you take the discards, shuffle them back together, and keep playing until the draw deck has 5 or fewer cards less in it. Once that happens, the game is over and everyone tallies up their victory points, bearing in mind that the victory point is the number on the top right hand side of your conjured monsters. Okay, like I said earlier, they do all take a different type of magic or a different combination of cards, as it were, to conjure the monsters. Just for example, here's 3 cards of the same wizard, 3 consecutive cards of the same element. That one there is 3 cards of the same element, 2 pairs of wizards, 2 of the same wizard. That's just for example. It does go up and get more difficult. 4 cards of the same element, 4 consecutive cards of the same element. So you see, they do get rather difficult here. Now let me show you how you would actually play for that. Okay guys, so here's my hand for Ember. Now, as you can see, I've got an earth, a water, an earth, an archmage, and a fire. Now, I've also got in the numbers a 12, a 5, a 4, a 1. Wow, it's looking quite hard to get any conjuring going here. Now, this time, I think I'm going to have to use my archmage. Now, I did say about the archmage earlier, can be used as a wild card, but I forgot to mention that you can also unflip any one of your creatures, so you can get to use that power again, or it can actually protect you against a spell that somebody else is casting. In this instance, I believe I would have to use it as a wild, so this is what you would do. So you got your 5 cards in hand, so I'm going to get my 2 earth and my archmage. That makes 3 of the same element. Now, 3 of the same element gets me one of these number 4 cards. Now each of them has a separate power, so these now go out of play, so I put them up here face up, because I put the discard ones right next to it. Now, as I said, this would get me one of these. Now, all of them have a different power, but each of them costs the same to get. So as long as I can conjure 3 elements, this one has a flip, petrify, look at one player's hand and discard any 2 of their cards. That's pretty good. This one's a Rainbow Serpent. So Rainbow Wards prevent anyone from looking at stealing or making you discard any cards until the end of the current player's turn. That's quite a good one too. Also, there's the Wyvern. I think I've pronounced that right. Sorry if I haven't. Now, this one is Poison Sting. Look at one player's hand and swap one of their cards with one of your own. Now, it's cool kind of how all the powers have a different name and stuff as well. It just gives it that little bit more theme. In this instance, I'm pretty sure I would pick the Basilisk just because that's the way I am. Now, that's basically how you play. At the end of the turn, you would draw up the cards that you played to conjure. So, in this instance, I would draw 3. The only other thing I would say about it is there's certain things that would make you draw up past your hand, in which case at the end of your turn you would need to draw it back down to 5. So say for example I flipped the card, had 6 cards to conjure with, played say 5 cards to conjure, but however many, but I would draw back up to 6, but then I would have to discard again. And that's just the rules goes. Now there's a couple other things in the game that just give you like an extra turn or a rule that I haven't explained here. But other than that, that's pretty much the game. As I'm about to say, pretty simple. I think we should just go and take a look at my final thoughts of Ember. So everyone, what did I think of Ember overall? It's a really, really, really quick game. There's not really much to it. It's very simple mechanics and really quick to pick up. For kids, I could totally see this being like almost an introductory game to larger card games. It's easy to count up to it's easy to count the numbers. It's easy to tell the 4 different suits of the wizards, and it's overall it's a very, very what's the word I'm looking for? Dare I say it? Like an intro game. So because it only goes by the 4 types and all you're doing is kind of matching the cards together, it's very simple to teach to anyone and literally bring it to like a family meeting, and pretty much anyone's going to be able to pick it up and play it, and it's really light and super fun. Guys, that's my opinion of Ember, and if you like what you've seen here, then don't forget to check out the description below. All the links to the current Kickstarter page will be there. Other than that, I hope everyone's having a great week. I'll catch you guys later. This episode was sponsored by GamesLore, the UK's largest specialist games retailer, which can be found at gameslore.com.